Look at the modern grocery store. Aisle after aisle of perfectly uniform produce, available year-round for pennies on the dollar. It looks like the absolute triumph of human engineering. But those low prices at the checkout counter are hiding a massive, unsustainable deficit. While food prices stay relatively stagnant, the cost of the inputs required to grow it, the fuels, the chemicals, the seeds, continues to rise year after year. Modern farming operates on a logic that prioritizes the top line, the total volume of wheat or corn pulled out of the ground. Farmers often focus entirely on harvest totals, frequently overlooking the staggering expenses required to force that yield. This equation shows how actual productivity works. True efficiency is your total output divided by your inputs. In any healthy business, you watch that red denominator, the costs of your materials, like a hawk. Industrial agriculture often overlooks it. The math simply does not balance. What we call cheap food is an illusion, a mountain of hidden costs subsidized by a system that borrows heavily against the future to pay for today. To hit those massive output numbers, farmers are forced to buy increasingly expensive chemical fertilizers, synthetic pesticides, and patented hybrid seeds year after year. These synthetic inputs systematically deplete the vital organic carbon in the earth. As the soil loses its natural fertility, the farmer must apply even heavier doses of chemicals next season just to maintain the same yield. This creates an inescapable cycle of debt. The intense financial pressure has triggered massive agricultural protests and staggering suicide rates across rural communities globally, as farmers find themselves unable to pay for the very materials they need to survive. The physical toll is even worse. In farming regions like Punjab, the constant overexposure to toxic pesticides has created such a severe health crisis that a daily train transporting sick farmers to a specialized hospital has earned a grim nickname, the cancer train. Industrial farming operates as a death-driven trap. By prioritizing chemical inputs over natural ecosystems, it mathematically guarantees the slow destruction of the soil, the financial ruin of the farmer, and a toxic toll on the consumer. There is a way to invert this equation and drive input costs down to nearly zero. It is a philosophy called permaculture, short for permanent agriculture. Standard farming demands that every 4 months, the land is stripped bare and tilled with heavy machinery to start over. Permaculture abandons that cycle to build a permanent, self-sustaining architecture of trees and plants that functions exactly like a wild forest. Instead of expensive mechanical irrigation, permaculture uses deep, permanent root systems to pry the earth open, turning the ground into a massive biological sponge. When it rains, these roots capture and hold roughly 25 million liters of free water deep underground. By locking every single drop of rain inside the earth, the farm banks enough moisture to survive dry seasons without ever turning on a pump. One of the largest financial burdens of modern farming is eliminated through natural design. That same logic applies to pest control and fertilizer. Rather than buying synthetic chemicals, permaculture relies on a free, active biological network. Certain trees are planted to pull nitrogen from the air and fix it directly into the soil, acting as on-site fertilizer factories. And instead of using rat poison, the farm provides a habitat for local predators like snakes, creating nature's own pest control. Watch this seedling aggressively push through dry earth. This local heirloom seed operates very differently from a corporate hybrid. Hybrid seeds require pristine conditions and must be repurchased every year. Heirloom seeds learn the specific climate of the soil over time, adapting and reproducing for free, generation after generation. When nature handles the irrigation, the nutrients, and the genetics, the land's capacity expands. A single food forest can produce up to 150 different crops year-round, replacing the fragile single-crop fields of industrial farming. A permaculture farm operates as a highly efficient, multi-yield profit center, engineered to use nature's own systems to maximize output while driving costs to zero. If this biological system is so efficient, why isn't it the global standard? The answer lies in the massive disconnect between urban consumers and the origins of our food. We often walk into a store demanding perfectly identical tomatoes and out-of-season fruit, unaware of the harsh chemical interventions required to force the earth to deliver them. Our demand for visual perfection dictates the market. The corporations running the industrial food system track a single metric: profit. They follow consumer behavior. If we continue to buy artificially flawless, chemically drenched food, they will continue stripping the earth to produce it. Reversing this cycle requires adopting the 3 core principles of the permaculture movement: care for the earth, care for the people, and taking only your fair share. We possess the biological tools to grow abundant, healthy food without destroying the planet. The biggest barrier standing in the way is the lack of awareness behind our own purchasing habits. Every time you buy groceries, you cast a direct economic vote for the type of agricultural system you want to see survive. You have the power to bypass industrial supply chains entirely. By finding local farmers markets and purchasing directly from the people working the land, you cut off the financial oxygen to toxic farming practices. Paying for chemical-free produce directly funds the restoration of local ecosystems, while protecting your own health from the slow accumulation of invisible poisons. Choosing to learn where your food comes from is an act of reclaiming agency from a commercial system that relies on consumer disconnect to remain profitable. Embracing organic farming represents the only mathematical equation that actually balances, guaranteeing a viable future for the soil, the farmers, and ourselves.